little bit about me, a little bit more about me. I'm a former U.S. Army officer. I served 17 years on active duty. I don't like to use the word retirement, but I completed my service obligation back in 1996. See, the word retirement is not even in the Bible, so I'm not going to use the word retirement. Did that, 1996, left the military, active duty, started an engineering firm, doing the dot-com era. Started writing on the wall, and left that. Became a motivational speaker. And then God dried that up and told me now I'm a full-time professional political agitator. Doesn't matter if you have an R behind your name, a D behind your name, or an I. Doesn't matter. If you're not adhering to the Constitution, if you're not making the plight of the poor legislative priority, not in terms of entitlements, but opportunity for the poor to help end generational poverty and to elevate the poor, become employees, entrepreneurs. That's the method of Douglas. So those are the myths. K. Carl Smith, the founder and president of Frederick Douglass Republic. I was raised in a Christian Democrat household. I was raised in a Christian Democrat household. I always say that I was born black. I know I was born black. I thought I was born a Democrat. And two things changed my life. The Word of God changed my life. The words of Frederick Douglass changed my political thinking. In terms of changing my life, if you read 2 Corinthians in 2 Corinthians 13 and 5, in the Message translation, it says, examine yourself. I'm looking for my water. Excuse me. I had my water, I put it down somewhere.
We'll get you another one.
I have it. If you read 2 Corinthians 13 and 5 in the Message translation, this happened to me about 17 years ago, 18 years ago now. I read that scripture so many times before, but one night I read it. 2 Corinthians 13 and 5 says this, examine yourself to make sure you're solid in the faith. Don't go along taking things for granted. You need first-hand evidence, not mere hearsay, that Jesus Christ is in you. If you fail the test, do something about it. Well, 18, 19 years ago, I started examining myself. I started examining the way I was voting. And the way I was voting was opposite of my worship. I don't believe in same-sex marriage. Maybe somebody wants to live that lifestyle, that's them. But I was voting that way. Didn't think about it. I just did it. And so God diagnosed me and told me that I was a political schizophrenic. A political schizophrenic is a person who worships one way and votes in another. I was crazy. I was crazy. So that put me in check. Where I started voting my values, not voting party. There's a quote from Robert Brown Elliott. During Reconstruction, Robert Brown Elliott was one of the first black congressmen to serve the U.S. Congress out of South Carolina. One of the seven first blacks, Republicans. And he has a quote that really sums this up. He says, I am a slave to principles. I call no political party master. That's what it's all about. Douglas changed my political thinking. Now, I grew up in a Democrat household. All right, keep that in mind. Somebody sent me a quote from Douglas one time, and Douglas said, I am a black, die-in-the-wool Republican. When I read it, I said, wait a minute, Douglas wasn't tall. Douglas wasn't Uncle Tom. He was Uncle Tom. I said, I don't believe this. And the quote goes on to say, and I never intend to belong to any other party than the party of freedom and progress. I said, wait a minute. Why did Douglas say Freedom and Progress Republican Party, and he did not say Freedom and Progress Democrat Party? He has turned my world upside down. Because when I told those things, I thought George Wallace was a Democrat, Republican. I grew up thinking that Bull Connor, the one in Birmingham who turned on the high-pressure water hose and put the K9 dogs on the civil rights protesters in Birmingham, the black and white film you used to see back in the 1960s, I thought Bull Connor was a Republican. I thought the Ku Klux Klan was started by the Republican Party. I thought the people who bombed 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama were done by Republicans. When I started reading Douglass, his autobiographies and his writings and all his writings, and started reading some other things in history, Douglass helped turn my political world right side up. I became more of a critical thinker, not taking for granted what people had to say, and start checking it out on my own. So that's me. I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican. That's how I identify myself politically. I am a conservative, but I'm a Frederick Douglass type conservative, not a George Wallace type conservative. You follow me? And I started referring to myself as a Frederick Douglass Republican several years ago. Did not know I was growing a movement by doing that. I had no idea I was growing a movement. And I mentioned before that to become a Frederick Douglass Republican is not based on your ethnicity or your skin color, it's based on your embracing those 4 values of Douglass. Okay? Those 4 values of Douglass. Let me quickly give you a 3-minute class on Douglass, because most folks don't know the substance of Douglass. Most folks do not know the substance of Douglass, that I want to get into the Frederick Douglass Republican philosophy and the methodology of how to engage, how we can save this nation, and advance the cause of conservatism. Frederick Douglass, born 1818 in Maryland, some say 1817. Frederick Douglass was born below poverty. He was born below poverty. And see, Dr. Ben Carson, he was born into poverty in Detroit. But when you're born into slavery, you're born below poverty because you don't even own your own body. As I can recall, he never owned a pair of shoes until he was 8 years old, never slept in a bed till the age of 10. Frederick Douglass was homeschooled, self-taught. He started his own homeschooling program on the plantation. And he realized at a very young age that his key to freedom was to learn how to read and write. He was a slave for the first 20 years of his life. He was a slave for the first 20 years of his life. The slave master took care of him, provided clothing. The slave master provided Douglass with shelter, food, and health care. I remember reading Douglass. Douglass said on a plantation when a slave was hurt or sick, it could have been a broken arm or upset stomach, the medical treatment was Epsom salt. Now the master exempted himself from that type of medical treatment. If the master got sick, he received proper medical treatment from a proper authority or expert. Sound familiar? The elites in both parties exempt themselves from the health care they're imposing upon us. Right. Both parties. That's a problem. See, slavery by government is still slavery. And the techniques of oppression, what I've learned by reading Douglass, the techniques of oppression used by the slave master upon the slave are identical to the techniques of oppression used by the slave government upon us. So Douglass was getting this free stuff while he was a slave. If Governor Rumley was here, he might not be far away. I am in Massachusetts, right?
He isn't here anymore.
If Governor Rumley was here, he would say that Douglass was a 47%. Getting that free stuff. But the story doesn't end there. Douglass escaped from slavery in 1838. He escaped from slavery. He escaped from slave master entitlements. He escaped from it. Now, while he was on the system, he used it to jumpstart his life. He learned how to read and write. He maximized education opportunities while on the system. See, there's nothing really wrong with entitlements if you use it to jumpstart your life, but don't make it a permanent fixture in your life. That's why we got to elevate the poor. How you elevate someone that's a 47%er? Well, first of all, many 47%ers aspire to be more than that. You just got to give them the opportunity. And the rest of them, you have to show them that they're being enslaved. Harriet Tubman said on one occasion, I freed 1,000 slaves. I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed more only if they knew they were slaves. We have to show people they're being enslaved. Most folks don't understand socialism, Marxism. You have to give them a slavery metaphor. And when you give them a slavery metaphor, you got to bring in Douglass, because Douglass was a slave. He escaped from slavery in 1838. Met up with William Lloyd Garrison. Frederick Douglass was an advisor to 5 Republican presidents. Frederick Douglass was an advisor to 5 Republican presidents: Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, James Garfield, Rutherford Hayes, and Benjamin Harrison. 5. That's not bad for a guy with 0 days of formal schooling. He wrote 3 autobiographies. Frederick Douglass wrote 3 autobiographies. The first one is entitled The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. The second one is entitled My Bondage, My Freedom. And the third one is entitled The Life and Times of Frederick Douglass. He wrote 3 autobiographies. I'm giving you some tips on Douglass most folks don't know. Douglass spelled his last name with 2 S's. That's a common mistake. 2 S's on Douglass' last name. Frederick Douglass was a capitalist. He was a free market entrepreneur. He discovered his God-given gifts and his God-given talents, and he took his obsession and he made it a profession. He was a lecturer. He was a writer. Those were his gifts. Trivia question. Douglass passed away in 1895 as a result of a heart attack at the age of 77. How much money in savings do you think Douglass had amassed at the time of his death? Put your hand down. We had dinner last time. We talked. How much money in savings? Don't give me inflated dollars. How much money did this man who was a slave for 20 years, now he worked for 20 years, didn't get paid. How much money in savings do you think he had amassed at the time of his death? 1895. $400,000. Going once, going twice, about 300,000. Going once, going twice. $3 million. $300,000. Wow. $300,000. $300,000 back then is more than $10 million today. Wow. Douglass was a 47%. He died a 1%. So we should not envy wealth creation. We should emulate it because that's how jobs are created. Wealth creation and job creation go hand in hand.